It's 6 p.m. on a Sunday evening here in Korea. Thank you for joining us for Arirang News. I'm Daniel Choy. President Park Geun-hye will be in the United States this week for a summit with President Barack Obama. Her 4-day trip begins on Tuesday. The two leaders will meet on Friday to discuss the South Korea-U.S. alliance and peace and stability in Northeast Asia. They may also adopt a statement containing a strong message against North Korea's missile and nuclear weapons development. On Thursday, President Park will become only the second South Korean leader since Lee Myung-bak to visit the Pentagon. She will also attend a lunch hosted by Vice President Joe Biden the same day. Prior to that, on Wednesday, she will visit the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center as part of efforts to strengthen bilateral cooperation on space issues. President Park will be accompanied by 166 business leaders, the largest contingent to date. Chinese and Japanese media continue to report on North Korea's military parade, mostly emphasizing the ties between Beijing and Pyongyang. The U.S., however, remain mum on the issue. Lee Soo-eun tells us more.
Liu Yin-shan, the fifth most powerful member of China's Politburo Standing Committee, Beijing's highest decision-making body, stood next to leader Kim Jong-un throughout North Korea's military parade on Saturday. China's official Xinhua news agency reported that Liu spoke to Kim and his two highest-ranking officials about the importance of bilateral cooperation. They also were said to have discussed holding regular talks among top officials, strengthening economic and trade cooperation, and increasing civilian exchanges. Japan's Yomiuri Shimbun newspaper reported that North Korea's main focus with the parade was making a show of its ties to Beijing by featuring Liu on the live broadcast by its state-run Korean Central Television. Another Japanese daily, the Mainichi Shimbun, pointed out that Kim made no direct mention of the North's nuclear program in his speech, which the paper interpreted as a diplomatic gesture toward its longtime ally China and its push for a nuclear-free Korean peninsula. What Kim did mention, however, was war with the United States.
Today's parade proudly shows our military might to the rest of the world. Our forces have been trained and refined over the past 70 years. We are ready to deal with any threat and attack by the United States.
The White House and the U.S. State Department both declined to comment on Kim's speech, which foreign affairs experts read as a decision made in consideration of the fact that North Korea could still launch a provocation. Lee Soo-eun, Arirang News.
An arms analyst has cast doubt on North Korea's claim that its KN-08 intercontinental ballistic missiles are capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. Referring to the weapon displayed at the military parade on Saturday, Macau International Military Association President Anthony Wong-dong told Hong Kong newspaper Mingbao on Sunday that he would estimate the weight of the warhead to be around 1 ton, too heavy to be mounted onto the KN-08. Wong added the missile would be capable of flying only about 7,000 to 8,000 kilometers instead of its known range of 12,000. That would make it impossible for the missile to reach North America when fired from North Korea. Meanwhile, the South Korean military official said Sunday that analysis of the KN-08 is underway, but it's too early to determine the missile's capabilities. On the domestic front, the dispute over the Park Geun-hye administration's aim to give the government sole authority over publication of the country's history textbook is heating up. The government, the ruling Century Party, and the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy are discussing the issue at separate meetings this Sunday. Based on those discussions, the Education Ministry is expected to announce its textbook reform plan this week. While the ruling party says the uniformity of the country's history textbooks is essential, the opposition party says state-authored textbooks would whitewash history and take the country back to the days of authoritarian rule. Meanwhile, the Korean Federation of Teachers Associations voted Sunday in favor of a government-authored text by a majority of 62%. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee has let the world know about the ugly truth behind wartime industrial facilities in Japan that recently made it into the prestigious list. The committee on Sunday published on its website the minutes of a meeting in Bonn, Germany in July that include a statement by Japan's ambassador to UNESCO, Kunisato. He said, quote, there were a large number of Koreans and others who were brought against their will and forced to work under harsh conditions in the 1940s at some of the sites. Tokyo is required to submit a progress report to World Heritage officials by the end of 2017 on steps it is taking to make the abuses public. It remains to be seen whether Japan will fulfill that pledge, as some Japanese officials have continued to deny Tokyo's use of forced labor, which led to the deaths of most of the victims. While still mulling the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, Korea is shifting its focus to another mega free trade agreement, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or the RCEP. The 10th round of negotiations will be held in Busan this week. Our Kwon So-hwa reports.
Korea lost the chance to join the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, or TPP, as a founding member, but is mulling its options for potential participation in what will be the largest trade pact in the world. In the meantime, there is another mega trade pact waiting to be concluded, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership that Korea is a member of. The pact includes the 10 member states of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and 5 other states that, like Korea, already have trade pacts with the ASEAN member countries. The 10th round of RCEP negotiations will get underway this week in the southern port city of Busan, and it's the first time since the pact's launch in 2012 that the talks will happen in Korea. Korea's trade ministry says the guidelines for market liberalization will be on the agenda, as well as discussions on property rights and electronic commerce. The RCEP's current member countries have a combined population of around 3.4 billion people, much more than the TPP, and a trade volume of almost 30%. But the collective GDP of the participating countries is much smaller than the TPP. Given the size of these two mega trade deals, experts say it's important for Korea and other emerging countries to weigh their options before joining the TPP. But they say there will be time enough to consider it.
The only chance to join the TPP negotiation from any outside member, including Korea, is the TPP is actually ratified and entered into force. Realistically speaking, we expect it'll take about 1 or 2 years.
Media outlets in Thailand and Indonesia say there are worries that their country's exports will weaken when pitted against Vietnam, Singapore, and Malaysia, which are members of both mega trade pacts. Experts say with the U.S.-led TPP agreement completed, negotiators working on the China-backed RCEP are now under pressure to ink a deal by the end of the year. Kwon So-hwa, Arirang News.
Moving on. Come 2019, close to 20 million foreigners will have visited Korea. The Korea Tourism Organization said Sunday that number of foreign visitors is projected to rise 14.6% next year from this year and will grow at an annual average rate of over 7% to reach 19.35 million in the year 2019. That seems like an attainable goal, as the tourism agency also said the number of Chinese visitors to Korea should expand at an annual average rate of more than 10%, including during the cited period, rather. The number of Chinese tourists has been rising steadily since the year 2007, including a dramatic spike of more than 40% in 2013 and 2013. Plus, as the popularity of K-pop and Korean culture in Southeast Asian nations shows no signs of cooling down, the number of visitors from Thailand, Taiwan, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam is expected to rise. In sporting news, the Olympics for soldiers around the world, the Military World Games, wrapped up today. After 10 days of intense competition between service people from 117 countries, Russia took home 59 golds en route to landing at the top of the medal table. It's the country's 4th victory and the first after a dry spell since 2007. Brazil was the runner-up and China finished 3rd. Host nation South Korea finished 4th with 19 golds, which was something for the home team to celebrate, as it is the country's best record in the competition to date. As a human being, you will experience memory loss, major or minor, at some point in your life. A research team here in Korea has discovered new ways that gene repression can inhibit memory formation. Park Se-young has the full story.
In this movie, a man suffers short-term memory loss, unable to remember anything for longer than 10 minutes. For some time, scientists have known of the roles genes play in memory formation, but not which ones. In this new study, a research team from Korea has recorded evidence of the brain turning off its memory inhibitor to make new memories. Using electric shocks, the scientists trained several mice to fear being put in a cage. They compared their reactions against an untested control group after 5, 10, 30 minutes, and 4 hours by performing RNA sequencing and ribosome profiling on the hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure that has a central role in memory formation. The study showed the gene NRSN1, one of the 104 identified genes that were expressed differently in the trained mice, acts as a suppressor of long-term memory formation. Mice without the memory suppressor genes did not move inside the cage, while mice with overexpressed genes forgot about the electric shocks and moved around freely. Additionally, scientists found that activating the estrogen receptor alpha in the hippocampus also impairs memory formation.
The suppression of protein-coding genes and early repression of specific genes on the molecular level play a key role in the formation of long-term memory.
The study highlights the need to understand gene regulatory events during memory formation. The research team expects the findings to be used for developing new treatments for memory disorders. Their findings were published in this month's issue of Science. Park Geun-hye, Arirang News.
And now for a quick look at the weather before we go. Break out those windbreakers and thermal undergarments and pack an umbrella if you're in Korea on Monday. The rain will continue from late tonight until tomorrow morning, and temperatures will dip down to 9 degrees Celsius in Seoul, 12 in Gwangju, and 15 in Jeju. That's Korea for you. Let's check out the weather conditions outside of Korea, around the world. That's all from us for now. More updates coming your way at 10 p.m. Korea time, so do join us then. Thanks for watching.